But that spine, that core is so important. If they don't get that right this summer, this might sound ridiculous, but the form since this manager's been in, they could be looking at being in that relegation.
The form's dreadful,
I'm telling you, it's been so bad.
I think
a big concern for me, as I said to you before, Jamie, we've been crying out for a left wing back. They buy one, and it tells me his head's a little bit fried. It's a little bit confused at the minute. He plays him right wing back and keeps Darlow.
I did feel like that was maybe kind of like a Luke Shaw, Jose Mourinho thing where he kind of just kept him on his side so he could speak to him because he didn't have any training sessions with the club.
Maybe he should have walked around to the other side then.
Just go stand by the line-up.
How did he know he was going to win the toss-up for the kick-off?
We'll get back to Scholesy in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And also don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And also, remember, if you've got something to say, if there's something bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please put it in the comments. I read all of the comments. Now, in this clip, Paul Scholes and Jamie Carragher and some of the famous Man United fans from some of the other YouTube fan channels and whatnot are going to be talking about the current state of affairs with regards to Manchester United and also whether or not Ruben Amorim's time is up at Manchester United and also what they feel as though the club needs in the summer. And Paul Scholes, there's something about Paul Scholes, sometimes he'll say something and just when you think he's being really astute and intelligent with what he's about to say, then he kind of falls off a cliff and you start to remember why exactly he wasn't a successful football manager himself. And this is another instance with regards to that. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that for now. Here's the clip. Stick around for after the clip because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on what he said in said clip. Anyway, here's Scholesy.
Adam, Man United.
Oh,
I mean, I'm going to ask you a question now. How long could it go on in terms of not just the results, because you're winning the odd one here and there, but the actual performances carry on going like that, where you might start thinking, have we actually got the right man here?
I haven't got to that stage with the manager yet.
Well, do you think you could get there before the end of the season if these performances don't...
The one thing that does worry me is if we were to drop out the cup competitions and then you'd have nothing to play for. Like, I don't think there's really any motivation in the squad for the league games at the moment. Like, we're fighting to go away 11th. Like, I can see there's no motivation in those games, and it comes across in some of the performances. So I think the cup competitions are really important for us this season, especially with the added bonus that if you can do something in the Europa League, you'll somehow make sure you're in the Champions League next season, which is really important, especially when you look at the PSR issues the club are facing, you know, potentially looking at selling some of the younger players and things like that, which is very unlike the club that I've grown to love over the years. Like, it is important that you get into the Champions League, and winning the Europa League could put you in that position. And I think I was looking at the financial stats of how much Liverpool have already made this year in Champions League revenue. Like, it's massive for clubs to be in there. And I think if we were out of the cup competition, I think that's when people start to worry a little bit. But I'm impressed with the manager, but the football needs to get better.
You don't think it's happening now? I'm not at the point where I'm thinking it's the wrong decision, because he's come into a mess and it still feels like a mess. But there has to be, with the league, not so much the league form, the way they're playing, even in talking about cup competitions there. And a big concern for me, as I said to you before, Jamie, we've been crying out for a left wing back. They buy one, and it tells me his head's a little bit fried. It's a little bit confused at the minute. He plays him right wing back and keeps Darlow.
I did feel like that was maybe kind of like a Luke Shaw, Jose Mourinho thing where he kind of just kept him on his side so he could speak to him because he didn't have any training sessions with the club.
Maybe he should have walked around to the other side then.
Just go stand by the line-up.
How did he know he was going to win the toss-up for the kick-off?
Oh, that's a good point. We always kick towards the Stretford end of the second half, JD. But it's a good point, actually.
I was going to ask you, Scholes, when you talk about the performance, you've just mentioned the wing back. So that when you're wanting sort of belief in your manager, you look at those things. I saw Mainoo playing like as a false 9 the other day. And I know he'd said in the week he thinks he's more of a number 10 than a centre midfielder. He's not as good defensively as whatever.
I get that.
And then he puts him as a... I don't know, just little things like that. If I was Man Utd, it'd worry me a little bit. You know, be thinking, as you said, with the new player playing on the other side, Mainoo's position.
There are a few things that are concerning. I think there's a lot of stuff he needs to do. We all know that, especially in transfer windows. But I don't see a core of players. I say when you look at teams, you look right down the spine of a team. Like Liverpool, great goalkeeper, great centre half, forwards, midfield player, whatever it is. I don't think United have any of that in any position. I think a new goalkeeper is needed. Possibly 2 centre halves, 2 centre midfield players, and 2 centre forwards.
I disagree.
I go for 1 centre midfield, for 1 centre forward, but with a bit of stature, a bit of quality, and really create a spine. When you've got that spine right, I think, Jamie, then you can add bits to it. Now, I think Mainoo, he's lost. I talked about Declan Rice being lost before. I think Mainoo's lost as well. I don't think they know what to do with him. I don't think he knows where to play on a football pitch. I don't, because he's been played in that, one of the number 10 positions. He has been played in the 2 in the midfield, which you can see probably doesn't succeed. I don't think he's the greatest athlete. He's a great footballer. I think the number 10 does suit him, the false 9. Never in a million years. But that spine, that core is so important. If they don't get that right this summer, this might sound ridiculous. But the form since this manager's been in, they could be looking at being in that relegation.
The form's dreadful,
I'm telling you, it's been so bad.
I think I look at like the Kobbie Mainoo thing. I think he does suit the 10 position better. I think when you look at all his good moments for Manchester United, the goal against Wolves, Liverpool, the cup final performance, a lot of his good things have come in the final third and that from that left-hand side. So I think he does suit that a little bit. Playing him up top in the false 9, that felt to me like it was a bit of a message towards the board with the transfer window just closing. Maybe
because he's got the 2 centre forwards there and he didn't play.
But at the same time, you say we need 2 centre backs, we need 2 midfielders. I do disagree with that. I think I've started to. I like what I see from Lenny Yarrow. I think he'll grow into the game. I think he's a good footballer, good centre back.
Look, he's a young player, but I haven't liked what I've seen so far.
Really?
Did you see the Southampton game?
He had a bad one against Southampton.
No, look,
I think those are learning curves. Sometimes players are just going to have you.
Yeah, but he's 1 centre half I would keep. When I'm talking about bringing that spine of the team, 2 centre halves, he's one that adds into.
You're not rate the lit.
He didn't rate him from the first show. The fan debate.
I know. I've been surprised by that because I think.
Where are your ambitions, though? When you say rating, I'm talking about getting a team to win the Premier League. You're going to win the Premier League with De Ligt and Euros, your centre halves?
I don't know. I think there's been many players over the year. You go, how have we won the league with some of them? But I do think these players are quite good.
What about that Lino? You're going to give him a new deal? Tell you what, he got away with one.
He was like all of us, just happy to get out of Old Trafford on Friday.
You just said you think they're quite good.
No, but I think in Match Delict, you've got a player there. Lissandro Martinez, unfortunately, injured. I don't know if we can rely on someone like that.
He's not good enough to win the Premier League with.
Maybe Leach.
Unless
I do think De Ligt's a player, man. I think there's a player in there. I think he's a good leader. I think he plays well from the middle. And I've been impressed with him since he.
His age and his amount of clubs already concerns me.
I do disagree.
You disagree? All right, he's brilliant at Ajax. He seems to be getting worse as he's got older. I think Bayern Munich, Juventus, they've let him go for some reason.
Adam, you know the changes Scholes he's talking about. You know, we probably all agree Man United probably would need 7 or 8 players to go straight into the team if they were going to sort of challenge, for, probably even Champions League positions. But what is realistic? I mean, do you know the financial situation probably a bit more than us? What is realistic that Man United can do in the summer?
I think once you sell a few players, and I think it's important, that's why they're looking at these academy players, because once you sell them, it's pure profit and you can spend like 3x that amount in that transfer window. That's why I think that we're looking at Garnacho potentially leaving. If Marcus Rashford does leave United and we get 30, 40 million for him, I think we'll be in a similar position. I think it will be looking at some of those younger players maybe making their way so that we can free up some funds. But I think over the last 2 or 3 years, our wage bill has dropped like massively. The amount of players we've been taking off the wage bill, and I think that will continue this summer. You got Lindelof who leaves on a free. I think Casemiro will be off. I think a lot of these players that are on big money will be off, and a lot of them have already left. So.
What did you think about them taking the option on Maguire?
I'd sell him in the summer. I think he's done well. I was buzzing to see he scored and allowed us to leave Old Trafford after 90 minutes on Friday. I think he has done well and I think he's improved. But he's a bit like Onana for me now, where I'm done with Onana. And I think Onana is one of those players where he could somehow win Golden Glove in a campaign because he's a good goalkeeper. But he's always going to have those moments where he chucks it in his own net. He's always, we talk about wanting to win the league, wanting to win the Champions League. I don't think you can ever do anything like that with Onana. So I'm kind of the same with Maguire. I think he'll have those moments where he'll look good, he'll look solid, but he's always going to have a moment where he sticks one in his own net. I think I'd get rid, cash in while you can.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, Paul Scholes, it's like it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other with Paul Scholes sometimes. 1 second he says something that's really, really sort of poignant and, hits the nail on the head. And he says it in here, like, Man United's been crying out for a left wing back. And then on his debut, he plays him at right wing back. And he plays the right wing back at left wing back. And it's like, what's going on there? And he's absolutely right. And then he comes out and says that basically Matthijs de Ligt is not really up to snuff. And it's like, well, give the guy a break, yeah? He's only just turned up. And to be fair, since he's been here, he's been one of our best players. So at least he's putting the effort in, So Scholesy, I mean, it reminds me of when I read his book. And in his book, I have to admit, it was one of the most boring, depressing football books I've ever read. Because he was so self-deprecating. You would think he was a Sunday League footballer. And I mean, that's okay to a point, but it gets to a point where it's like, no, come on, mate, just tell the truth. You were a world-class footballer and you played good in that match and you scored a world-class goal. Because, they talk about famous games and stuff where he played well and he would just say, yeah, I thought I played all right. Yeah, I was all right. Yeah, I was all right. It's like, shut up, mate, and just tell the truth there. You were class in that match and you were class there and you scored a class goal. So it's the same with this. Like, all of a sudden he's saying that Man United need what? Well, okay. The big D's getting a little bit worked up here a minute. Yes, he is right when he says that the team needs a spine, but he is wrong when he says that there's no one there that is good enough to be a spine for a good Manchester United team. He's talking rubbish there, but he is right in the sense that they need a spine. Now, Matthijs de Ligt is a class defender. You could win the Premier League with Matthijs de Ligt at the heart of your defence. He needs help. He needs a better goalie, fair enough. And he needs a fit defensive partner. And Martinez, I think he's good enough to be that person if he's fit, so long as the rest of the team is up to snuff as well. Because there's only so much a defence can do. We can't keep every single goal out of the net. The attackers need to do that. The attackers need to do their part and score goals themselves. Fine. Now, in terms of the midfield, fair enough. We need some reinforcements in midfield. Ugarte has done very well so far. Yes. He's getting better. Could he be a big part of that spine? Yes. Is he there yet? No. But that's fine. Does he need a central midfield partnership? Yes. Who's that going to be? Don't know. Bruno Fernandes. Phenomenal player. World class. You put him in Real Madrid's team, he's winning Ballon d'Ors. You put him in Man City's team, he's winning Ballon d'Ors. So you just need to look at the statistics, and they suggest that he's a world-class player in an average team, and he has been for as long as he's been at Manchester United. He's got better stats in the same time period than Kevin De Bruyne, but everyone's kissing Kevin De Bruyne's feet, So it's like, come on, mate, get some perspective. There's nothing wrong with Bruno Fernandes. But yes, we do need a goalkeeper. Yes, we do. Onana's just... I agree with Adam McCullough in that one. A big part of the situation with Onana is he's replaced David De Gea, who's a bona fide club legend. So that's always going to stand against him, and he's made some unnecessary errors for a person of his maturity and experience. In his defence, he hasn't really had a settled team in front of him, because that plays a big part too. And a lot of these players have had about 16 different managers in the past 5 years. So the whole thing is a mess. But in terms of strikers and going back to sort of the spine situation, yes, we need a goal scorer. Simple as that. We need a goal scorer. If this team gets a goal scorer, the situation changes. It was the same when Ollie was in charge. You know, he was building a nice foundation. He was getting a settled side together, but they just needed someone to unlock a defence, because they were good on the counter-attack, but they needed someone to unlock the defence. And then they bought Bruno Fernandes, who was able to do that, and then all of a sudden they finished third and they finished second. So one player can make a difference, and this team is crying out for a goal scorer. If you get a goal scorer and a focal point up front, that gives the team confidence in the knowledge that the team can score goals, which they haven't got at the moment. And two, it takes the pressure off the defence, because the opposition team no longer have the confidence that they're not going to concede. And they'll be worrying about defending against whatever number 9 or goal scoring midfielder that we buy, or whoever it is that we buy. They're going to be terrified of them. But unfortunately, Manchester United at the moment are a great white shark with no teeth. So yeah, I mean, there is some truth in what Paul Scholes says, but then, I don't know, he just dives off the deep end sometimes. But with regards to Ruben Amorim, I mean, I agree with what he says there. If things don't drastically improve, and if we don't get the signings right in the summer, we could have a relegation fight on our hands. And to be honest, I don't think it will get to that, because it will just get to a point where Ruben Amorim has done such a bad job, if indeed that's what happens, that they'll have to just bite the bullet. Because a weaker team finished third in the Premier League under Erik ten Hag. A weaker squad, that is. And in fact, under Ruud van Nistelrooy, for those 4 games, we won 3 and drew 4. We won 3 and drew the 4th. So this team can win. It has got talent. It can score goals. But it's not set up in a manner with which it's able to do that. And that's down to the manager. But the manager wants to play a specific way, and he wants to build a team in his specific way. So I think United fans are just stuck between a rock and a hard place at the moment. We're going to have to go through another rebuild, but we're going to be asking the question, is the manager going to be given the time to finish the rebuild? Or are we going to be jumping on the manager merry-go-round again, and then we're going to have another new manager bounce? And yeah. Adam McCullough. Yeah, I don't mind Adam. He's all right. He says some good things. He says some good things. I agree with him on Onana. Maguire, I disagree with him on Maguire in that I think he's still got a part to play. He's certainly not going to win the league with Maguire on the books, but I think Maguire's done enough to be a useful member of the squad at Manchester United. We're not going to get much money for him if we sold him, so we might as well keep him as a useful squad member. And football these days is a squad game, so you need people to be able to step in and help out as and when's needed. Lindelof's had his day. Euro, yeah, that's fine, young player, not a problem. Yeah, Dorgu needs to play on the left. And Dallet on the right, and then we'll have some width and some proper penetration from the flanks. So none of this cut-in nonsense. Just bomb down and cross it in, and then maybe we'll have Højlund on the end of some of the headers. Kobbie Mainoo, well, I've been saying all season, Kobbie Mainoo, would perfectly suit one of those number 10 positions. Stick him in one of those number 10 positions alongside Garnacho and then Højlund up front. There, what's wrong with that? He's quite intricate. He's good going forward. He's got a goal in him. He's a good passer of the ball. Yeah, fine. Paul Scholes, again, comes out with he's not a great athlete. I don't know, mate. He runs around like a headless chicken, mate. He's got a lot of energy. He seems to have an absolutely solid engine. So I don't know where he's getting that from. I mean, a great athlete compared to what? Compared to you? Yes, of course he was. Compared to Usain Bolt? No. But, I think he looks all right. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment as well that they don't quite know what to do with him now. Because he's perfectly suited. He played his best football under Ten Hag because he was playing in that number 8 position. But this system doesn't really have a number 8 position because the two central midfielders need to be very disciplined. So I suppose he needs a certain level of freedom for him to express himself and get the most out of him, really, unless he learns how to be a good defender. But then again, you could say the same thing for Bruno Fernandes. So who are you going to play in those? Are you going to play Kobbie and Bruno Fernandes as the two number 10s? Well, if you do that, then you might sacrifice a bit of pace up front. So maybe, utilise those two players in the two number 10 positions when we're playing against teams in a low block. But then again, it doesn't matter because we haven't got a goal scorer. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think a goal scorer, now that we've got the left fullback, a goal scorer would just be the icing on the cake for this side now. And it will give the team a focal point that they know what they're doing. They're just going to aim for this guy up front and this guy will score our goals and we'll all chip in as and when we can. But anyway. But what do you guys think? If you've come this far in this video, then you're clearly interested in what I've got to say. And because of that, I appreciate you and I want to know what's on your mind. So please click and type away in the comments. I read all of the comments. And what do you guys think? Does Kobbie Mainoo suit the number 10 more than he does in central midfield? Is Matthijs de Ligt potentially a world-class central defender? Does Paul Scholes have a point? Do we need a spine? I think we do. Oh, well, I think we need, the spine needs added too. But I think there's a little bit of a spine there at the moment, but it needs some help. But what do you think? Do we need a complete new spine, like what Paul Scholes said? Do we need 10, 11 players? You tell me. Thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.